My name is Dan Wilbert. I'm currently the CFO for GVE Projects Limited, which is arguably the largest engineers player in the solar sector, in solar mini-grid developer sector in Nigeria. I have experience gathering circa 2 decades, mainly with multinationals, working in the oil and gas sector more or less before coming over to this side of the carbon divide, working in different regions of the world, in Africa, Asia and the Middle East. Currently, my role entails driving the Series B fundraise, engaging with external stakeholders, not just so in summary, what I'm trying to say, it's not just a bean counter role more or less, but being a business partner to the organization, trying to drive strategy and the growth in this sector, right? I'm an alumnus of, a proud alumni, I should say, of the University of Benin. I also have management courses spanning the Stanford University Graduate School of Business, an MBA program ongoing, and I guess, yeah, that's it. So I came into the sector in Q4 of 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic, if I can say so, right? And I would say my expectations about the industry were quite different from what I saw when I got in, right? I had the perception that it was a small sector, people doing solar panels for home use and all that, right? But coming in, I would say I was wowed. It introduced me to a whole new sphere I had little understanding of initially, right? Maybe now I could say I've become an expert of some sort, but then it opened my eyes to a whole new vista. I haven't played on the other side of the carbon divide for a bit, and coming into this whole sector that we saw, that was it was far-reaching. The impact is wide, the impact is massive, and it's far-reaching. I saw a sector that's growing, and it's a huge market, right? Especially in sub-Saharan Africa, where you have some energy deficit. So it's a good place to be. Having coming from the oil and gas space, it's another point that wowed me, if I can use that word, is I saw it's a completely different ball game, more or less, within the finance space. And I'll give an example. One is, you'd see when I played in the oil and gas industry, you more or less had to go engage your clients, more or less, in terms of getting your funding and all that, right, in place. But coming into this space, you see that there's a lot of impact funds that are looking for good investments to come in here, right? And I may not say this may not be the experience for all players in the sector, but I haven't seen GVE has built some credibility over time with the solid management team they had in place and the board and all that. You'll see that lots of people come to meet you to see how we can move this sector forward. You know, so it's not just only in getting funding and projects, specific projects that could change, that could be a game changer, right? But you also participate in working on some of the regulations within the sector and all that. So this has been quite a good one for me, and it's quite interesting. It plays along with what I would say should be the way you do in any change management process you're going through. First, the change has to start in your mind, right? You drop some of the biases or mindsets you may have come in with perceiving the sector, right? So this I had to do because I was coming from a completely different sector. Secondly, I had to read voraciously, right? I was not too conversant initially with the sector. I mean, we know energy as it is, but we're dealing with the different peculiarities within the solar industry space was what you had to be voracious about, right? And I think I went all in, right? And maybe now I could count myself as an expert in the industry then, but I'd say at those initial stage, hopefully I didn't, I was not too much of a burden to the management team then, because when I read up stuff, I always engage the team to put it in practical terms, it's not just theoretical, right? And I think I got good support hopefully I got good support from the management team then, and it was good. And from there, I think since I play more in the financial space, I would say I already had that core expertise. So bringing that in, marrying it with the understanding of the business and bringing that skill set to play, I think I even contributed my own part to it. And it's been all moving better from there, right? In terms of missteps, maybe I would say none for now. GVE was lucky to see just the good sides. I mean, I've had some missteps earlier in my career, but luckily they got me in as an experienced hire. So I would say nothing really on that front. So that's it. I think this is one question that stirs some excitement in me, right? So permit me to handle this in two tranches, right? I presented at a program on circular economy at the Ibadan Business School recently, and I think I handled it this way. I looked at it from two perspectives. One is the business angle, right? And then the other would be on the employment side, on the salary side. So let me deal with the business angle of it first. Nigeria, as we know it, has an education deficit where at least 57% of the people have access to electricity or little electricity as we know it, right? Leaving a huge population of about 43%, circa 80 to 90 million, without energy at all. This is a huge market that needs to be filled, right? You'll see that from the projections that we see already, you'll see oil prices in current climes, oil prices going up. I mean, everyone is experiencing it, cost of diesel, even if you look at the projections from our current presidential aspirants, you'll see most of them even speaking about subsidy removals. So you'll see that the costing, the pricing of all this is even meant to increase for fossil fuel, right? But on the reverse, you'll see for the renewable energy space, there have been projections that cost of the solar technology, PVs and batteries have reduced circa 90% over the last decade, except for the little glitch on supply chain challenges experienced during COVID, right? For this, you'll see that in terms of pricing, there's a huge market for people to diversify into using more solar-based models, right? And for any tech or business savvy person, it presents a huge opportunity for anyone to go into. I'm not just speaking about just the technical part. There are many subsets to this where you could play immensely, right? I'm talking fintech solutions, even for payment processes for this space. I mean, the whole new vista. I mean, even recruitment, specialized recruitment for these places, carbon trading and all that. It's a whole lot, a whole new sector that could be played with, right? So I'll think in terms of business sense, any business savvy person, it's a good time to come into this space. Now, going into the employment and salaries for, or let me say the whole benefit structure in place for workers in this space. Some projections recently from the ILO and some UN agencies project that at the end of 2022, I think the last statistic I saw was as at Q3, that there was circa 13 million, 12.7 million new jobs added into this renewable energy space within that year. And the projections are that by 2030, you'd see a net addition of another 10.7 million, more than in oil and gas. I mean, it's a 13 million new growth and a net of 2.6 million losses in the oil and gas space, right? Leaving a 10.3 million net. And then further projections that by 2050, there'll be 42 million new jobs in this space. I mean, this tells me if you're talking about job security, looking for new experiences and a whole new vista of opportunities to grow as a career person, you don't need a soothsayer or a diviner to tell you that this is the space to be in, right? It's a growing sector and it's something to enjoy and plan towards, even if you have people who are still trying to make choices on their best career paths, especially if you're still a young player, right? In terms of remuneration, so this is a difficult question to answer, right? Because it varies. I mean, in terms of remuneration, it varies depending on your expertise, your number of years, and what you're bringing to the table. So it's not a one-size-shoe-fits-all, but you must know the oil and gas industry as it stands is a bigger one. But in terms of the general picture of where the whole industry is going and where you need to be in terms of career path and projections, then I would recommend playing in the renewable energy space among other burgeoning careers like AI and all that. Thank you. For me, honestly, in one sentence, I'll say it's creating an impact. And I'll tell you why. You know, when you light up a community who's never had electricity before, you see the world change, the impact it has in every single part of the life of everyone there, right? So you see kids that could not read into the night, being able to do better in their schooling. You see businesses working extended hours, right? And then you see new businesses spring up in such sectors. So for me, when I look at it, I say it's more or less the best part of it for me is creating that impact. That one, you can still do business, make money, right, while at it, and then having that additional joy and satisfaction when you see the impact your business brings to the community. This part of the world where this sector is still more or less nascent, there are lots of changes we expect to see, right? I mean, we already see all around the world renewable energy vehicles becoming regular in most climes, and I think you'll begin to see most of these electric vehicles playing a strong part of life, mobility going forward, right? In such cases, you'll see that another opportunity comes up even in having charging panels in maybe most of your fuel stations and all that, right? And you'll see improvement in technology. We've already begun to see this at play, right? That even the panels are shrinking, you're having better models that you could use even in building your houses as part of the rooftops and all that, right? So technology would increase. There'll be lots of changes that are going to happen in the next, I would say in the next few years, or let's say decades, right? And this ties into the whole new model where we see from the projections I mentioned earlier that the growth opportunities, the career opportunities are going to expand in this space. So you'll see new businesses and new, in-house manufacturing, hopefully in Nigeria where we fix our power challenges. You'll see lots of changes in this sector. And how do we see ourselves playing in this space? We're more or less, we've been, let me not use the word front runners, but we've come in at an early stage as an organization, and I see that we'll begin to play a more impactful role in this place, even in shaping regulations that are necessary to grow this sector. Good question. So this is more or less should I say, an open-ended question, right? Because you could be coming from various sectors, right? It could be from any space. But some of the points I would say you should keep in mind. One is keep an open mind. Drop all biases, right? Secondly, be ready to learn. Be ready to learn. There's a whole lot to understand about the sector, so keep your reading appetite open. And I think from there, the sky is the limit. There are so many opportunities. There are so many places you could focus on, and you'll see growth on that path. Thanks.